welcome again to the Database Daily Insights. In this video, I am going to walk you through the process of doing an upgrade of SQL Server 2022 to 2025. Now, we have two approaches. You may, depending on your type of environment, you may choose to do an in-place upgrade, or you may choose to do a side-by-side upgrade. For the most part, both of those approaches are going to work for you, but for the most part, if you want to minimize on any downtime or any issues that may arise, then often we would go for a side-by-side upgrade. And the reason why you would go for a side-by-side upgrade is because you want to have a very solid rollback plan. Solid rollback plan in this case would be, it's just going to be as easy as switching connection strings and you are immediately back into the previous environment, because you're going to have both environments existing in that specific moment in time, and your rollback plan from the application side would just be to change the connection string, or it would still be using the same connection string which would have been updated in DNS if we're using an alias to point to the new environment. So therefore the rollback plan would be so easy. It would just involve changing the connection string or really updating the DNS entry and just letting that entry get replicated in 15 minutes. But in this case here, I've logged back into the box where we have our SQL 2022 installed, and now we want to go through the process of upgrading this to SQL 2025. It's pretty easy. I've already copied the SQL 2025 files, binary files here. I'll mount these, and then we can just double click this, or right click and run as administrator, or you could as well call it from the command line and just request an upgrade action. So if we were to do that from the command line, I would go to the G drive, setup, action, and then I would supply the word upgrade, and that's gonna quickly launch the upgrade process. And this, remember, is us doing an in-place upgrade. When you're doing an in-place upgrade of SQL Server database, there's a couple of things that you need to make sure you do prior to this upgrade. You work with the systems or the server team and make sure that they take a snapshot of the VM prior to you starting your upgrade. And the reason why you want to do that is so that at least you have a solid rollback plan. So the strategy would be this: take a snapshot of the VM, and first of all, it would be, you need to ensure that you have backups. So I'm going to choose enterprise developer for this upgrade, and then I'm going to click next. I will accept the license terms. I will click next, and you can see from the top left here that it's upgrading to SQL Server 2025. Then I will go to next. I can choose to include the SQL Server product updates, or I can just skip this one. Sometimes the ISO image ships with SQL Server updates, so it would scan and include them, but sometimes, like for this one here, we are really using the release candidate image, and therefore I doubt if it has any of the updates that it's trying to scan. Actually, I can just, yeah, it doesn't have anything, so that error is not a big deal. We can just go to next. While that is running, or while at least it is trying to do that, I'm just going to launch Notepad. business. So from here you can see that we have a few issues here. One of the issues is saying it is not clustered, or the cluster service is up and online. So let's see, the machine is clustered but the cluster is not online or cannot be accessed from one of its nodes. Now this machine is clustered. Let me see. It should not be clustered. No, I'm gonna. So this is clustered. No, this is not clustered. Well, let me look at the configuration manager. Oh, this is clustered. Okay. This is a clustered box. So let me see what the nodes are. All right, so because this is clustered, you definitely have to make sure that all the participants of your cluster are actually running. So for that reason, this is going to be considered a failed attempt at trying to upgrade SQL Server 2025. And this is going to be one of those real things that you are definitely going to be seeing in the real world. If everything doesn't match or check out, then the upgrade is definitely going to fail. Now, the one thing we need to do is I need to make sure that that environment that is offline is brought online. So I'll pause it a little bit and see if I can do that. If I cannot bring that online, then we will resort to a different option. And this is the whole report for why it failed. I just wanted you to see that. Okay, let me pause it. All right, so I found one of those boxes that I believe is the one. I've brought it online and I am going to attempt to see if this issue is fixed. So I'm going to rerun the report and let's see if it passes. But I just brought it online, so it might take some time before it actually recognizes that it is passed. All right, so it has failed again, so let's give it some time. I'm just gonna pause the video and then all right, so you see that the second error now has passed. This one says that it is running on the cluster node, so meaning something happened. So okay, so the machine is clustered, but the cluster is not online or cannot be accessed from one of its nodes. All right, so let's rerun it again. So let me check here again if I can actually connect. Now I can connect. That's good. Since I brought it up, Then let me look at the nodes. All of them are up, so that is a good thing. I am going to rerun it again. I'm going to investigate the cluster node. The cluster. So it is saying here so we need to rerun the whole setup. Okay, so I'm gonna cancel this. Since my nodes are online, I'll cancel that. I'll come back here. Let's wait and see. And so that is probably how we debug it and try to see what to do. Okay, so I'm back into rerunning the whole setup. I'm going to pick Enterprise Developer again. I'm going to go to Next. I will accept the license terms. I will go to Next. I will go to Next. I will go to Next. Then we'll let that go. We'll show the details, and this time around it passed that stage, meaning after bringing that box online, then we were able to actually accomplish the pre-checks and everything checked out. Then I will go to Next. The only instance I'm upgrading is the default instance, so I will go to Next. And again, this is a SQL 2022 AG cluster that I already installed some time back. At some point we'll get to a place where we'll install an AG cluster from start to finish, and I should be able to show you everything, how everything works. So, but if you have any questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. I will respond to any of those questions as they come. So from here you can see that the upgrade has selected all those components that are going to be upgraded. Then I'll go to Next, and then I will go to Next. While all of that is happening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these. Yeah, I'll leave that as default, and then I'll go to Next. I'll also leave that as default. I'll go to Next. I always like to just show the details. And looks like everything is checked out, and then I'll begin the upgrade. Remember, again, this is an in-place upgrade. So normally what happens in an AG cluster is it's preferably to start upgrading from the secondary replica, but in our case we were just upgrading a node. Then we realized that it was secondary, it was an AG cluster. So if you're doing an in-place upgrade and this is your production environment, you need to have a backout plan or a rollback plan. So the first thing is you need to have database backups prior to starting this activity. Then you need to work with your server team to make sure that you can get a VM snapshot. For a crash consistent snapshot, you need to shut down your services, shut down your database services. Prior to your VM snapshot. Then after that, you can proceed and do your DB upgrade. If so, this is your implementation plan. Upgrade. If for some weird reason you need a rollback, then you have several things that you can do. You can revert back to VM Snapshot. This is going to be the easiest way to really roll back in the event of a disaster. Failure to have those, then you do not have a rollback plan. And so what is most likely to happen in this case, if you don't have VM snapshots, if you didn't get this but you had database backups, then what can happen is you could, at least you have a backup solution for your environment where you have VM backups being taken on a daily basis or on a nightly basis. Then what means is you can request one of those backups VM boxes to be spinned up, and then you can restore the databases as per the time prior to the upgrade. That's going to be a longer route, but it's still going to return you to the point in time. But let's say you don't have a database backup and then you don't have VM snapshots. Then it means that your business is in a very precarious situation. You are willing to lose some data, or you are going to deal with that type of loss in the event that anything happens. And that's why you need to have your belts and suspenders. All right, so this upgrade is going to take some time. Again, I'm going to pause this video and I will resume as soon as it's complete. And the upgrade is complete. So we are going to check. By connecting to the database. I will connect using the command line. And I'm connected. If I just select, I'm on the same box. If I select version and go, and now you can see here we have upgraded it to SQL Server 2025, and that is our server name, which is exactly what we were trying to upgrade. Yep, so that concludes the upgrade from SQL Server 2022 to SQL Server 2025, and that's an in-place upgrade. If you know anybody who is trying to upgrade from any version of SQL Server to any valid version of SQL Server, then you must show them this video. And if they still have issues trying to do that, ask them to contact me and I can point them in the right direction. Also, you can clearly see how to troubleshoot a few things when you are going through your process of upgrade. And lastly, you also need to make sure during your implementation or your upgrade procedure you have at least a few of these steps in place, and that way you can easily back out and you know um, have a better situation. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.